Welcome to Mirror Domains, and indeed, this is my live movie reviews for Frankenstein and Shelby Oaks. Opening up this weekend, guys, and Frankenstein 2025 is a film that I was highly anticipating because I am a big Guillermo del Toro fan. Now, if you don't know how this works, this is a live stream, so what will happen later on is that these will be cut out and put up on the channel separately later on the review channel. But for now, we'll get through some of these reviews, and if there's people in the live chat that want to drop in some thoughts, we will take those up afterwards. And yeah, let's get to it, because Frankenstein. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to this. Turn off the soundtrack, and we'll get underway. Frankenstein is a visually mesmerizing reimagining of Mary Shelley's classic brought to us by Guillermo del Toro, who has an unmatched eye for gothic beauty and atmosphere. The scores for this come in at 86% on the tomato meter, 94% by the audience, so people like this film. And does it earn that? Well, let's talk about it, because I like this version of Frankenstein. And I don't know if you are a fan of the original. Ooh, just look at that gruesomeness. Yeah. Del Toro does a great job of building that atmosphere, of building that beauty. Like, this is a cinematic masterpiece that you should see on the big screen this weekend, guys, because it's going to be on Netflix soon, but it's totally worthwhile seeing it on the big screen, because the production design here, it's a masterclass. Every set piece just drips with eerie elegance. You can see in the backgrounds there, the candlelit laboratories to the shadow-drenched village that he sort of goes to there. It's all well done. The standout here, though, are the performances by Jacob Elordi and Oscar Isaac. Now, Oscar Isaac, he brings it, but it's Jacob Elordi here as the monster, because you can see that he's under all of this makeup, but he's got to deliver this tough performance, and there's some nuance in it that you're just kind of like, I didn't know that he had those levels, and it was cool to see him switch into that other gear where he's just using certain parts of his face to convey emotion, and I found myself hooked into it. The supporting cast is also great here, with Christoph Waltz, of course, Mia Goth. She always brings it. And there's points in this film where you look at Mia Goth, and you're like, Del Toro knows how to photograph her. She's just, it pops. And I'm just like, wow, right? Wow. So costuming, production design, all great stuff, but does it deliver exactly that heart of the story of Frankenstein that we all know? Kind of like, he builds the monster to see if he can prove himself, and does it really convey all of that stuff? When it gets to the monster stuff, it's really good, but it's like that stuff doesn't happen until like the latter half of the film. So there's a lot of buildup here. There's a slow burn of building mood and stuff like that may, some people may take the wrong way, because it does take a while to get into this story, right? It's no doubt a visual splendor, but and the acting is great, but Frankenstein does occasionally falter in that pacing, where you're left wondering, okay, well, we know some of the story beats here, just get to it already. Certain stretches linger on a bit too long on the mood rather than the momentum. And the film's emotional core feels slightly hollow because of that. Its heart, it felt a little bit unfinished, because I like the story of Frankenstein because it's sort of reminiscent of what was going on with Moby Dick, right? With the obsession. Dr. Frankenstein has got this obsession that he's got to reanimate the dead, right? And they explain that in the family history and stuff like that. But it was kind of like his obsession to reanimate and create this monster was his undoing. And it felt like that stuff was kind of left to the background in this version. Uh, Maybe upon a second viewing, I'll get more of that, but I felt like I wanted to see more of that part of the story. And it was more a bit about showcasing just Del Toro style, which I really liked. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I like this film. I really did. So, with that being said, let's go over to the score sheet and start filling in some numbers here for Frankenstein. The acting, as I said, it is good. Acting, directing, and story are out of a possible 2 points each, guys. Cinematography and score are out of 1 point. Acting, I got to give at least 1.5 because of a Lordy. And then because of that ensemble, while some of the story does suffer here, it does. The ensemble here, Oscar Isaac always brings it. And I like that you get to see him play with his tonality. He changes his voice at certain times. He delves into deviousness, right? I like that part. But as I said, some of the acting in the beginning, it just gets a little too long-winded. The technical aspects here from Del Toro, are always going to be good. The framing of shots, the lighting of shots, the movement of the scenes. It's extremely well done. It's a masterclass for sure. The story, it does have a really interesting take on the story of Frankenstein. I'm going to come back to the directing here in just a minute because I'm going to try to marry the two here together. The story, it is a good version of Frankenstein. I do like this version of Frankenstein, but as I said, there's a few things that are left off the table here that I was kind of hoping that they would move a little bit quicker to, right? But it's got all those familiar beats, and it does. I don't know if it remains more faithful to the original story or not, but I do like this version of it, and I'm going to give the directing 1.5 as well because of the story. But for me, some aspects felt like they left some stuff off the table. Yeah, I'm going to use that joke. It's hard to stay away from. The cinematography here is out of a possible 1 point each here, and the cinematography you got to give full points to. Even though at some points I would say that it looks a little too much, perhaps like a volume type set, especially for the stuff in the north. But you don't. That's fine. It doesn't really take away from the rest of it. It's the laboratory and all of that stuff that really works for me. The score, it's also really good here. It's really well done, and we're sitting at 7 out of 10 right now for Frankenstein. So we're going to be in that ballpark of what the tomato meter was. Uh, it's just the cast. Yeah, the cast is the best part. David Bradley here. David Bradley, like you see the familiar faces that Del Toro likes to use. It's always a pleasure to watch David Bradley act. He was in The Strain and stuff like that. You recognize the old guy when you saw him. Charles Dance kind of starts off the story as the father, and you can see that they were trying to say, okay, his devotion towards medicine and trying to reanimate stuff is because of his father. But when it comes down to it, I think I preferred the way that it was done in Branagh's version, where it was just his ambition, right? His desire to show that I can do this, I can make this happen, because I'm the smart one. I'm the one that can do all of this stuff, right? I like that version of Branagh's, even though that on the tomato meter, I don't think it was as well. 42% there. I still think that this is my favorite version of Frankenstein. With Del Toro's up there. It truly is. But some of the storylines I felt like got misplaced because, well, as you see here in the Branagh's version, we do get that reanimation of the other one, right? And you see that in this version, like you see the monster saying, "Build me another one, build me another one," but we don't quite see that. And when you think, oh, you're casting Mia Goth here, I can see where this is going, because you know that she's got that extra gear in her that if she were to become the bride of Frankenstein, would have loved to have seen that. And you don't, sorry, spoiler alert, but you don't really get to see that in this version. So as I said, there were a few things, just minor things for me that I felt like I would have liked to have seen referenced. But let's go back to that tomato meter here and take a look at some of the audience and critics' responses here. Washington Post. Visually, the film is a sumptuous feast. This Frankenstein has no shortage of horrors, but it also finds notes of forgiveness and kindness. It's a monster movie with soul, and it is horrific. It's softball horror because it's not like anything that's going to stay with you unless you don't like seeing Oscar Isaac's backside naked. Audience, this is high art. Mia Goth is an ethereal angel, and yeah, Mia Goth, as I said, you're watching her. Del Toro films are in such a way it's just you're locked in, and the same with the monster too. Jacob Elordi here performed as if his life depended on it, and it was a masterclass. Yeah, because there's just things he's doing with his mouth because the rest is all makeup, and you're like sold on this version of the monster. For me, that's the way that I felt. Steven says, oh my God, this movie was amazing. The few special effects that they had were perfect. There wasn't a few, there was a lot, guys. This movie is has a lot of matte paintings and stuff in there that is seamless now because of the digital technology. But as I said, some of them at times felt just a bit volumey, but that's okay. The acting was so incredible. My girlfriend was crying 45 minutes into the movie. Well, if this is your first time being exposed to the Frankenstein story, then I think it will have that impact because it does have that impact of this misunderstood creature, right? And what do you do with it after, right? A stunning, beautiful movie, just a bit too long in some parts, JD says. And yeah, that goes to echo what I said, but they also gave it 5 out of 5. So see it on the big screen. Yeah, guys, see it on the big screen. The soundtrack here is phenomenal. But let's go over to the critics and take a look at some of the standouts here. Grace Randolph didn't like it. Jacob Elordi saves this movie, and the ending is brilliant, but we can't ignore the first half of this movie, and it's just awful. If only Oscar Isaac went full camp. Mia Goth does what she can with a small role. This half-baked film is beneath Del Toro. No, I don't agree with that, this half-baked film. And Mia Goth does great, but I don't know if I totally agree with her. The first half is awful. A lot of the stuff with the father, I think, could have been summed up in maybe one scene. They don't need to drag that on. And I like the stuff that they were trying to establish with the brother. But Oscar Isaac going full camp, would that have helped this film? Because he does play it seriously. He plays it seriously to the point where there's a bit of pomp and circumstance to the social class that they're in, right? And I guess maybe she was wanting to see him play that kind of mad scientist, but he never really was like. Well, I guess he does have these visions of this weird archangel or whatever driving his ambition, but he does have those little elements in there that pop through that are a little bit like Moon Knight. But I still liked his performance. Was it as good as Kenneth Branagh's version? His Dr. Frankenstein? I don't know. Because at least with Branagh's version, you saw that he would place his work above everything else. And he had the same kind of arc with the monster, but it was a different take. And if you like this version of Frankenstein, I say go check out Branagh's version as well, because there's stuff of value in that version as well, even though some of the same story beats do happen, for sure. It's just an interesting place on how they become kind of like enemies, right? So I like that. I like both versions. And I think the comments pretty much agree with me. So with that being said, let's wrap up this review by talking about the watchability factor. So if you are a Del Toro fan, then you will want to check this out. If you are a fan of the Frankenstein story and you want to see what happens in this version, I would say go out and see it in the theater, but it is going to be on Netflix within what is it, November 7th. But guys, do yourself a favor. Go out and see it this weekend if you can. It's totally worthwhile. And I would say I would probably even watch it again. And if I feel like it, if I got time, I think I might even immortalize this one by doing a full reaction with you guys when it comes out, because I want to talk about some of the story beats in here and how it differs from the different versions of Frankenstein that we know. Maybe would have to go back and revisit the old one with Karloff, Boris Karloff there. But I like this version, and I hope you guys give it a chance. 8.5 out of 10 for Frankenstein. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and we will talk about it. Hey, if you like horror and if you like talking about movies like this, come join us here on the channel, because we are also going to be reviewing Shelby Oaks, Chris Stuckmann's first directorial debut, right here on Mirror Domains. All right, let's turn on some of the let's turn on the live comments there, because Chris Schober's there in the live chat. See what he's got to say. It's Johnny Depp in this new Frankenstein movie. No, it's not. It's Jacob Elordi. He was in Saltburn. What version of Frankenstein movie is this, James? Well, it's Guillermo del Toro's. What are both versions released years? I might check them out. Okay. Well, that's an easy question to answer. Not quite like that, though. Del Toro's was obviously this year, right? 2025. And then, no, that's Shelby Oaks. Kenneth Branagh's version was in 1994. And it's just really interesting to watch the different takes of how the monster gets created and the design aesthetics. It's a live reaction, definitely up for Frankenstein watch along. Yeah, okay, and then there's that. There's those kind of tropes that we don't get in Del Toro's version. We don't get the "it's alive" kind of thing. And we don't really get the horror aspect of that. We get sort of him locking him down here and this sort of thing, and being kind of wary of it being strong, but we don't really get that he's really afraid of it. And we do get that in the Branagh version. We do get the fact that he's afraid of it because he knows that it's strong, and it's trying to put his thoughts together and stuff like that. We get that in the Branagh version, but not this version. So, Arglass says it's alive. Yeah. When it comes out, if I got time, we'll definitely do a watch along. But it would also be kind of cool if we did for both, right? If I could somehow find a version of Branagh's version. Who was it? Stephen Rea? Was it? No, it wasn't Stephen Rea. Who else was in that? Helena Bonham Carter. Robert De Niro played the version of Frankenstein. It's really cool. It would be cool to put them back to back and say, okay, well, these are the different versions, and this is what you should be expecting from it. All righty. So, that being said, have you seen the trailer for the Johnny Deeps? No, I have not. I don't even know what that is. All right, let's talk about Shelby Oaks. Stuckmann. Chris Stuckmann's Shelby Oaks delivers a haunting and immersive atmosphere that immediately pulls the viewers into its world of supernatural dread and psychological unease. It comes in at 60% on the tomato meter, 65% by the audience, so some mixed reaction, but let's talk about it. Does it earn that? The film's moody cinematography is the standout here. Stuckmann knows how to use atmosphere to build tension, to build horror, and it's cool to see that being showcased here. The film, Shelby Oaks, tells the tale of a woman's desperate search for her long lost sister um, that goes missing. And upon realizing that the imaginary demon from their childhood may be real. Okay, so, guys, that doesn't really sum it up. Let me give it to you straight. Basically, her sister is part of a paranormal team that does investigations, and they go to this town called Shelby Oaks where the whole team goes missing, and they've got some footage to go on, and it's about her trying to figure out where's my sister. And for 85% of this film, it is good, really good, but it kind of fails in sticking that landing. Uh, Stuckmann, as I said, has we know that he's a YouTuber, right? We know that he's got this background of uh, reviewing movies, and he's got this passion and love affair for movies. So we know that he should know his stuff, especially when it comes to horror, and that's showcased here in Shelby Oaks. And while I didn't like the ending, I didn't think that the ending worked. I felt like it kind of came off the rails. It felt quick. It felt like it was squished in because they try to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you at the end, and it's gonna frustrate some people because it'll be like, well, where did that come from? And that's where I'm trying to say that it quite doesn't stick its landing. Um, Shelby Oaks, it feels like it's a slow burn, yeah, horror that rewards some of its storyline, but it's just I wanted it to be like, maybe that's the problem here. I wanted it to be something uh, else than what it was trying to be. And if I look at it in the essence of does it accomplish what it was trying to set out to do, I think it does. I think it does. So I can say that if you are looking for a cohesive story that does give some answers, it doesn't in others because it tries to shoehorn in stuff where it's like, okay, just out of the blue, I'm going to get up in the middle of the night and I'm going to drive to a prison that I've got to break into where there could be dogs running around. And it's like, do I buy this? Well, we have to for the story, right? Uh, Shelby Oaks really struggles to maintain that momentum through the finale. Uh, the story's mysteries build towards a payoff that I think, as I said, it will work for some. It just didn't quite deliver for me the full way. The final act feels rushed, and it is disjointed because it's like there's questions that you're going to have, and they don't answer all of it, right? And some of those themes get a little underdeveloped. And despite the stumble, though, Stuckmann's debut remains promising. I think this is a good start. I mean, even James Cameron started off with Piranha 2, The Spawning, right? Uh, it's a film that proves that he does have the eye and he does have the passion for horror, even though its landing is it's not as strong as the takeoff. So, with that being said, let's go over to the score sheet here and start filling in some numbers for Shelby Oaks. Acting, directing, and story are out of a possible 2 points each. Cinematography and score, 1 point. I can't pull any punches here. I can't. Sullivan here does a great job. She carries the film. Camille Sullivan, right? She does a great job. In fact, I'm going to give her 1.5 right there. That's it. Directing and story. Technical aspects. There's a good use here of aspect ratios, of showing us different aspect ratios for when they're showing us footage from the cameras and stuff, and then actual theatrical wide stuff. So the framings and everything, you could see that he was pulling from a lot of familiar styles, which I appreciated, and that's where you could see, you can acknowledge that, okay, no, he knows his way around horror, right? So the technical aspects are done well. I'm going to give, I don't know, maybe I won't give a full point, 1.5. I'm just going to give 1 for now. But the story itself, the premise is interesting. And I wanted to love this film. until it started to try to give us some of the answers. And I felt like the answers just were not as satisfying as what the whole intrigue was all about. It was like, well, what's going on here? Is it ghosts? Is there some demonic thing? And then when things start to be explained, it's so far out there. It's like, did we establish that before? And I don't know if I like that. Oh, and that's it, the end of the movie. Right? So that's what I mean by pacing. I really wanted to like this film, and maybe it needs a second viewing for me to say I'm going to be fully on board with this. But for right now, I'll reserve the right to come back to these two. I will. Cinematography, though, I am going to give a full point to, uh, because, as I said, they do use the aspect ratio to show you the difference between the footage and the stuff in the time differences, right? So I liked all that stuff. The score, I think people could like the score. The score is serviceable to me. It's a horror soundtrack. It does use strings and all that stuff to elevate tension and mood. All of that stuff is effective. I don't know if this is a soundtrack that I would want to sit down and listen to on its own. So for that, I can't give more than that. We're sitting at 5 out of 10 right now, and it's going to be higher. It's going to be higher than that. I want to go over to the tomato meter here and take a look at what some of the other critics are saying and fans for Shelby Oaks. Because 60% there by critics, 65% by the audience. We need some answers here. LA Times. The horror greats always knew how to mix the schlocky and the soul churning. Let's say Stuckmann is still in the training wheels phase. Now, I hate to almost agree with that, but he knows he's got a good base. And I think the next one that he does is going to be just awesome, right? All right, a witchy crone, a possible incubus, and an abandoned amusement park add up to not very much in Shelby Oaks, a derivative and dogged horror movie that reverts to rote with wearing regularity, New York Times. Oy. So the critics are not kind to it. Audience, though, boring, terrible acting, not scary at all. Well, no, I can't agree with the acting. The acting is good. Good suspenseful moments throughout the film, but overall, it just felt like something was missed. Yeah, because maybe what the payoffs were just weren't being set up properly by the mood. Let's go over to the critics here and see if we can get some people. Jeremy Johns didn't like it. Wow. It comes across as a bit indulgent at times. And that's maybe that's because there's just things in here where it's like, well, let's have her go into the prison by herself at night with not having any kind of self-protection. It's like, what are you doing? There could be transients in there. There'd be like homeless people or squatters. You still got to protect yourself, right? Robert Abele, the horror greats. Oh no, we already saw that one. There's got to be somebody else in here that we know. Let's just take a look quickly, and hopefully something will jump out. Bibiani. It's that rare horror film that's scarier if you have it on in the background while you're doing a Sudoku puzzle than if you're actually, watching. No, I can't agree with that, Bibbs. I think if you watch it on the big screen, you will buy into the atmosphere. If you're watching it on your phone, then I guess it's going to be hard to get sucked into that atmosphere. But that almost seems discourteous there, saying that you would rather be playing a Sudoku than watching this film. I don't know if I can agree with that. Culture mix. Shelby Oaks is an adequate horror movie that falls short of being great because of its derivative story and weak ending. So again, even though they liked some of the stuff in there, they're acknowledging at least some of the ending, which echoes what we've been saying, right? The movie's mystery about the search for a missing woman is more suspenseful than scary. Yeah, and that's the intriguing part. Like, you want to figure out what happened to these people. Where did they go? Is there ghosts involved? What's going on, right? Okay. And then there's this. I see other critics out there, and I see people getting on them, that are other YouTube critics, trying to say that, oh, they're just giving it a pass because they're YouTube critics as well. I guys, I'm trying to give it to you straight as well, right? I'm not going to be somebody who's going to be, well, it's Stuckman. He's a YouTuber, so we got to stick together. No. And I see that people are trying to label other people like Cody Leach here like that. Um, that's not for me. I don't think I would. And Sean Chandler. People are getting on them for being uh, like soft on the reviews, but I don't think so. Like Chandler says, a strong directorial debut from YouTube film critic turned filmmaker Stuckman. The movie clearly and seamlessly blends true crime, found footage, and supernatural horror. It does. Um, it does. I think it does. Is there? I wanted to see if Perry Nemiroff was here, but I guess she's not. Oh, Matt Donato's here. Okay. Shelby Oaks is a horror procedural that tries to be anything but routine. And while some of the film's atypical flourishes score higher than others, it succeeds as a substantially creepy genre experiment with scares and soul. It does have scares, um, but those scares are better done and executed. Like Stuckman does it, he knows that the scarier stuff always happens up here. And when we actually see some of the stuff that is behind what's going on here, behind the disappearance, it becomes less scary. And I maybe would have not shown any of that because then we get into, well, prop department, makeup department. And it's like, um, that needed to be established better in the beginning that we were going to go that route. I think, right? Because the opening scene should have been a bit more of, well, if we're going to see the far out fantastical stuff, that should be maybe the opening sequence. And this movie falls into a little bit of a trope of uh, a really long opening scene. When you think the movie's done its little opening blurb, it's not till like 20 minutes into it where we're like, oh, no, now the opening credits are happening. Um, the only other movie that I've really seen do that, like had a 20-minute opening, was The Empty Man. And maybe that's where he was taking some of the inspiration. Uh, they do take a lot of time to establish the paranormal investigators and what could possibly have happened to them. And that's basically the entire opening act. Except the opening act feels like it's just the opening sequence before the titles, right? There's some minor things in there, but it starts off with a really intriguing premise, and I would say it's a good start. Stuckman, keep at it, dude. I want to see more of your work for sure. It's not a swing and a miss. It's not, and my score sheet somewhat reflects that. Uh, but let's finish it out here, and let's talk about it. Watchability factors out of 2 points. And if you are a Stuckman fan, if you are a horror fan, you'll definitely be wanting to check this out at least once. But going to the story here, I got to knock it down again because of that ending, because everything kind of wraps up just like that. And there's things in here where it's like, this person was just, you went through so much trauma, and then all of a sudden you're going to trust them with a responsibility that you should not be trusting them with, but you're going to do it anyway. That kind of thing, right? It's like some of that stuff. It's a little bit, but I would probably watch it again because I do want to. I do want to give it a second chance. I do think that there's some value in here, and it's just curious to see. So score. I think I will. The score does it does serve the movie. So score, I'm going to give a full 0.2, and that gives us 7 out of 10 for Shelby Oaks, with the highlight being the actress Camille Sullivan, right? That's her name, Camille Sullivan. She carries the film, and she's a good actress. She really does, and she needs to be a good actress because she carries this on her shoulder. Oh, she was in Hunter x Hunter. Um, Hunter x Hunter was that movie with Devon Sawa. He made a bit of a return there, and Nick Stahl. This is also kind of like a horror movie. If you don't know how this movie goes, this movie they're like a family that lives out in the woods, and then this transient comes along, played by Stahl, and wreaks terror on them. And she's good in this film. And this movie gets dark too. Hunter gets really dark. She has to go to some really dark places. And she's got to go to some dark places here in this movie as well. And I think it was a good casting. So the people that were complaining about the acting, no, I can't. I'm not on board for that. I won't stand for it. Not here on this channel. Mirror domains. All right. So, guys, if you like this kind of thing, we just reviewed the Frankenstein movie over on the review channel. So if you like this thing, you like horror, you want to talk about this, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. 7 out of 10 for Shelby Oaks, right here on Mirror Domains. Okay, let's take some live comments here. Turn on the old YouTube chat. Arglass says, I'm looking forward to supporting Chris Stuckmann. No sign of it being released yet in our cinemas. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I guess there would be different markets. You would be in the foreign market. I'd likely do a triple bill with Running Man and Predator Badlands. I want to do a double bill with when Predator Badlands comes out here. I want to see Prey again. I hope they do that here for us. Running Man, I do want to see. I wonder if Chris establishes himself, he'll ever release a director's cut of Shelby Oaks. Higher budget might have addressed any rookie issues. No, actually, from what I heard was that there was some studio interference. I realized I had that way on too bright. I'm going to be pink for these two reviews, guys. I apologize for that. Yeah, I heard that there was a cut of this film that was different than what he had intended. That maybe the studio did pressure him to put in some of the actual physical stuff, and it was going to be all just mentally up here. Were there ghosts or were there not? Right? Was it all a mental thing? And I think that would have been a lot more creepy if you just they just went missing. We can't find them. What happened? Were there ghosts there? And that stuff when she's doing the investigation of trying to recount their footsteps of, okay, they were going into all these weird places and they were looking at the dead and stuff. And was the sister a medium of some kind? I like this stuff. I think this is a really strong effort here by Stuckmann. I was skeptical. I think you have to be skeptical for sure, because it's kind of like, well, he's just a movie fan, and he doesn't really know things how to put together movies. But no, he knows composition. He knows how to build the atmosphere around the set and what the scene is entailing. It's just when we get to these answers here, it's going to be coming right at you, and you've only got 10 minutes left in the film, and it's like, I don't know if this was earned. And maybe it is earned, and it's going to require that second viewing. But it's not something that jumps off the page as some others. It's not a big, strong directorial debut as, say, like Spielberg's Duel. And we know that he would have loved being compared to Spielberg. But as I said, even James Cameron started with Piranha 2, The Spawning. And people like to say, well, no, James, Terminator was his worst. Well, no, it wasn't. And Fincher even had Alien 3, right? You got to start somewhere. So get to it, man. Stuckmann. I'm really curious to see where he goes with this, if he's got anything else on the table. And it was cool to see that Mike Flanagan got behind this and helped produce it, gave him some money. Does he have anything else coming up? Penance. It's a short pre-production. What's this about? A dying priest returns to his abandoned home to confront a sadistic spirit that murdered his family 10 years ago. Okay. Once again, he wants to write and direct. So he's got these stories that he wants to get out, and that's cool. I mean, I got my stories and I want to get them out there, but it's just sometimes it's hard to do. All right. So let's go over to the tomato meter here and take a look at the other movies opening up this weekend, because we've got that Springsteen picture, Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere, which I think people wanted to be like the big box office earner of this weekend. I don't think it is. I think Frankenstein might get better than that. Let's pull up. Do we have Friday's daily? No, we don't have Friday's daily yet. We should soon though. 61% by critics, 88 by the audience. So this is like biopics are always going to have the fans that'll come out to watch the biopics, and the fans are always going to like it regardless if it's a good movie or not. I think that was the same even for the Amy Winehouse movie, which was good, by the way. Uh, was it back to not turn back? Is it Back to Black? Yeah, Back to Black, which was good. I like that one. It introduced me to this actress. Well, no, it didn't really introduce me to her. She was in something else too. She's a good actress. What's her name? Marisa Abella. But yeah, as you can see here, critics didn't like that one, but the fans did, right? And that's the way it's always going to be. Rocket Man. Actually, Rocket Man was pretty good. But I have no. I don't listen to Springsteen. I never really liked any of his stuff. So it's just not for me. It's just not for me. What else was opening up this weekend? That movie with the Regretting You, which I may go out. I still may go out and see this tomorrow or later on this afternoon. I don't know. Uh, McKenna Grace, right, and the Mason Thames, which is he's really good. And you guys saw my review for Black Phone 2, How to Train Your Dragon. He's in that. Dave Franco just did Together. He was really good in that. Allison Williams. But it's also got some pretty low ratings here by the critics. But fans seem to like it, so based on the best-selling book, Regretting You introduces audience to Morgan Grant and her daughter. As they explore what's left behind after a devastating accident reveals a shocking betrayal and forces them to confront family secrets, redefine love, and rediscover each other. Maybe I'll go see that tomorrow. Yeah, maybe I will. Alrighty. So, is there any other business on the table here? I don't know if there is. Oh, and then there's Chainsaw Man. Yeah, there's an anime Chainsaw Man eyeing 15 to 17 million win. So that also opens up this weekend. I don't pay attention to any of the anime stuff. I'm sorry, I don't know Demon Slayer or whatever the heck that is either. I know there's fans out there for that stuff. Uh, my anime stuff was way before that. It was Guyver. Wow. We'll see. We'll see how the weekend shakes out, because I am definitely curious about it. Okay. Anything else? Anything else worth listening to? Begonia also has. Oh yeah, Begonia also has a its art house release this weekend. Um, Lanthimos. Nobody saw his last one, but the one she did before that got some Oscar attentions people liked. I like Lanthimos in doses. Killing of a Sacred Deer, you've heard me rant on and on about. But I do like the premise of she's kidnapped because these people think that she's an alien from a different planet and stuff like that. It's a far out idea. Outlander, Frankenstein. No, I think that's about it. It's time for some lunch. The other thing that opened up this weekend was the new Big Wreck album. So, what did I like? Staff Party, I gave thumbs up. I like High Roller. Believer, obviously. What, did I not give that? No. Okay. Believer, I like. Short Bangs is good. Out of Range. Yeah, that one is a standout. So, Staff Party, Out of Range, and Escaping in Place are the three standouts. Because I do like Around. I like Around and Believer. Those were releases before the album came out. I'm going to go over to this music store and see if I can get a physical copy of this. And if they got the vinyl for it, I'll buy the vinyl. But yeah, I think I'm the intro for Escaping in Place. I wish that they had extended that for a few bars, because after they do that um, picking part, it goes straight into the verse, and I wish they went through at least one more time through that. But anyway, it's a great song. I listened to it over and over again. So there it is. That's all that's happening this weekend, guys. Let me know what you thought about some of these movies if you saw them in the comments below, and we will talk about it. These will be cut out and set up on the review channel later on. And yeah, if not, I'll see you next time. Enjoy your weekend right here on Mirror Domains.